The glass shattered against the mahogany wall, whiskey trailing down like amber tears. Chen didn't flinch. His eyes remained fixed on the trembling man across his desk. "You have 24 hours to transfer your shares," Stephen said, his voice colder than the December wind howling outside his penthouse office. "Or I release the documents." James Morrison, once a titan of industry, now looked like a broken puppet. "Stephen, please. My family will lose everything. We've known each other for 15 years. 15 years means nothing." Stephen stood, buttoning his tailored suit jacket. "You voted against me. You thought you could side with Patterson and walk away unscathed. That was your mistake. I have children, Stephen. Grandchildren. Then you should have thought about them before betraying me." Stephen turned to face the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Manhattan skyline. The city glittered below like scattered diamonds, and he owned more of it than anyone else under 40. "My assistant will send you the paperwork. Sign it. Or by Monday morning, every news outlet in the country will know what you did in 2019. The door clicked shut behind Morrison. Stephen heard the man's footsteps fade down the hallway, heard the elevator ding. Only then did he allow himself to breathe. His reflection in the window showed a stranger. Sharp jawline, expensive suit, eyes like winter steel. Where had the other Stephen gone? The one who laughed at stupid jokes and believed in second chances? His phone buzzed. Another company acquired. Another competitor crushed. The numbers climbed higher, but the emptiness never filled. "Mr. Chen." His assistant Sarah appeared at the door. "The car is ready for the charity gala. Cancel it." "Sir, you're the keynote speaker. 300 people are waiting." Stephen closed his eyes. Even his own reflection exhausted him. Fine. 10 minutes. The gala was the usual parade of false smiles and hollow compliments. Stephen moved through the crowd like a shark through water. Elegant, dangerous, alone. People parted for him instinctively, their fear dressed up as respect. "Mr. Chen, wonderful to see you." Senator Richards grasped his hand too tightly. "I wanted to discuss the infrastructure bill. Have your people call mine." Stephen extracted his hand and kept moving. "Stephen." Victoria Chong, CEO of Chong Media, air-kissed near his cheek. "Darling, you look positively miserable. Who are we destroying next?" "Whoever deserves it." She laughed, sharp and brittle. "That's why I adore you." "No pretense." He was reaching for another drink when he saw her. Time stopped. His hand froze mid-reach. The champagne glass slipped from his fingers, but he didn't hear it shatter. The ballroom noise faded to white static. Across the room, illuminated by chandelier light, stood a woman who looked exactly like Emma. The same dark hair cascading over her shoulders. The same delicate curve of her neck. The same way of tilting her head when she listened. His chest constricted so violently he thought he might collapse. "Emma," he whispered. She turned toward him, as if she'd heard her name across 100 conversations. Their eyes met. It wasn't Emma. But those eyes, deep brown with flecks of gold, they were Emma's eyes. The same eyes that had looked at him with such love 10 years ago. The same eyes that had closed forever in a hospital room that smelled of antiseptic and death. She smiled at someone beside her, and Stephen's world tilted on its axis. That smile. He knew that smile. He was moving before he realized it, cutting through the crowd with single-minded focus. People called his name. He ignored them all. She was talking to the event coordinator, gesturing at the stage setup, completely unaware that she'd just shattered a decade of carefully constructed ice. "Excuse me." His voice came out rougher than intended. She turned, and up close the differences were obvious. She was younger than Emma had been, her features sharper, her presence more vibrant. But those eyes. "Yes? Can I help you?" Her voice was different too, stronger, more confident. Stephen never stumbled over words. He commanded boardrooms, destroyed careers with sentences, negotiated billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat. But now his tongue felt thick and useless. "Do I know you?" She studied him with interest, no fear in her expression. That alone was unusual. I don't think so.
I'm Lily Rodriguez.
I'm the event coordinator for tonight. Rodriguez. The room spun. You're Emma's sister. It wasn't a question. Her professional smile faltered. Something flickered in her eyes, recognition, maybe, or pain. You knew Emma? Yes. A long time ago. Then you must be Stephen Chen. She said his name like she'd been expecting to say it eventually. Emma told me about you. You look different from the photos. Photos? She had one. You were both at some university event laughing about something. You looked happy. Lily's gaze was direct, assessing. You don't look happy now, Mr. Chen. The observation landed like a punch. When did you get back? Emma said you were studying in London. I came back 3 years ago. She paused. I was abroad when Emma died. I didn't make it back in time. The guilt in her voice was familiar. Stephen lived with the same guilt every day. I'm sorry, he said, and meant it. So am I. Lily glanced at her tablet. I should get back to work. The auction starts in 15 minutes. And have dinner with me. The words escaped before he could stop them. Lily looked up, startled.
I'm sorry.
Dinner. Tomorrow night. I'd like to talk about Emma, if you're willing. Stephen recovered his composure, sliding back into the persona that made him powerful. I knew your sister well. I think we have a lot to discuss. Lily studied him for a long moment. Emma's last letter mentioned you. She made me promise something. What? That if I ever met you, I should check if you were okay. Lily's expression softened slightly. Are you okay, Stephen? The question hit him like a freight train. When was the last time anyone had asked him that? When was the last time anyone cared? No, he admitted, surprising himself with honesty. I'm not. Then yes, dinner tomorrow. But I'm choosing the place. She pulled out her phone. Give me your number. As Stephen recited his personal number, something he never gave anyone, he felt something crack inside him. A fissure in the ice. The auction proceeded. Stephen bid mechanically, winning items he didn't want with money that meant nothing. But he couldn't stop watching Lily as she moved through the room, efficient and warm with everyone she encountered. She laughed at something the caterer said, throwing her head back with genuine delight. Emma used to laugh like that. You're staring. Victoria appeared at his elbow. Who is she? No one. You're a terrible liar when it comes to women. Victoria followed his gaze. Pretty. But you're looking at her like she's a ghost. Maybe she is. The gala ended near midnight. Stephen found himself lingering, watching Lily direct the cleanup crew, thank the volunteers, double-check every detail. She worked like someone who cared about things beyond profit margins. When did he stop caring? As she headed for the exit, Stephen moved to intercept her. Lily. She turned, surprised. Mr. Chen. I thought you'd left. Stephen. Please. He hesitated, unusual uncertainty creeping into his voice. Thank you. For agreeing to dinner. Don't thank me yet. Emma asked me to check on you, but she also asked me to be honest with you. Lily's gaze was steady, unflinching. And from what I can see, Mr. Chen, my sister would be heartbroken by what you've become. The words should have angered him. Instead, they felt like the first true thing anyone had said to him in years. Then maybe you can tell me how to fix it, Stephen said quietly. Maybe I can. Or maybe you're too far gone. Lily pulled on her coat. I guess we'll find out tomorrow night. Good night, Stephen. She walked away, leaving him standing in the empty ballroom surrounded by the debris of false charity and hollow excess. Stephen's driver took him home through deserted streets. The penthouse felt cavernous and cold. $30 million of real estate, and it felt like a mausoleum. He poured himself a drink and stood at the window again, looking out at his empire. Somewhere in this city, Lily was probably in a modest apartment, maybe sharing space with roommates, working a non-profit job that paid nothing. And she'd looked happier than he'd felt in 10 years. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Antonio's. 7 p.m. Come hungry. And Stephen? Come ready to talk. Really talk. Lily. Stephen stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then he walked to his study and unlocked the bottom drawer of his desk. Inside, buried under legal documents and contracts, was a small wooden box. He hadn't opened it in 5 years. His hands shook as he lifted the lid. Inside was a single item. A sketchbook with a worn leather cover. Emma's sketchbook. Stephen traced his fingers over the cover but didn't open it. He couldn't. Not yet. The memories inside were too sharp, too bright, too painful. "I met your sister today," he whispered to the empty room. "She has your eyes." The sketchbook didn't answer. It never did. Stephen closed the box and locked it away again. Tomorrow he would have dinner with Lily Rodriguez. Tomorrow he would talk about Emma for the first time in a decade. Tomorrow he might finally have to face what he'd become. But tonight he was still the Ice King. Still untouchable. Still alone. He drained his glass and went to bed. But sleep wouldn't come. Instead, memories did. Unwanted and unbidden. They crashed over him like waves. Emma in the library, surrounded by art books, sketching in the margins of her notes. "Stephen, look, I drew you as a dragon." "Why a dragon?" "Because you're protective and fierce, but secretly you just want to hoard treasure and sleep." She'd grinned at him. "And because dragons are loyal to their one person." "That's you." "Just one person?" "Just one." "Lucky me." Stephen opened his eyes in the darkness. The ceiling of his bedroom cost more than most people's houses. The sheets were Egyptian cotton, 1,000 thread count. Everything was perfect and expensive and meaningless. "Lucky you," he repeated to the darkness. "Lucky you." But Emma hadn't been lucky at all. And neither had he. Tomorrow he would see Lily again. Tomorrow something might change. Or tomorrow he'd confirm what he already suspected. That the Stephen Chen who'd loved Emma Rodriguez was dead. And the Ice King was all that remained. Antonio's was nothing like the restaurants Stephen usually frequented. No Michelin stars, no pretentious waiters, no impossible reservations. Just a small Italian place in Brooklyn with checkered tablecloths and the smell of garlic bread filling the air. Stephen arrived 15 minutes early, a habit from business meetings. The hostess looked at his $3,000 suit with barely concealed amusement. "Reservation for Chen," he said. "Oh, you're Lily's friend." The woman's face lit up. She called ahead, said you might look uncomfortable. "Don't worry, honey, we don't bite." Stephen wasn't sure what to do with that, so he simply nodded. Lily arrived exactly at 7, wearing jeans and a simple sweater. No makeup except for a touch of lipstick. She looked radiant. "You came," she said, sliding into the booth across from him. "You doubted I would?" "Honestly? Yes. I figured you'd send your assistant with an apology and a check for some charity." Lily picked up the menu. "The lasagna here is incredible. And don't even think about ordering a salad. I don't eat carbs after 6. You do tonight." She flagged down the waiter. "2 lasagnas, extra garlic bread, and bring us the house red." Stephen opened his mouth to protest, then closed it. Something about Lily made him want to be contrary and compliant at the same time. When the waiter left, silence stretched between them. Stephen was used to silence in negotiations. He wielded it like a weapon. But this silence felt different. Expectant. "Emma kept a box," Lily said finally. "Letters, photos, ticket stubs from movies. She was a hoarder of memories. After she died, Mom couldn't look at it. Asked me to sort through it when I got back from London. I didn't know that." "You wouldn't. You disappeared." Lily's tone wasn't accusatory, just factual. "Emma died in March. By June, you'd left the city. By September, you'd started Chen Industries. By the time I came home 2 years later, you were already the Ice King." Stephen flinched at the nickname. "That's what they call you, isn't it?" Lily continued. "The business journals love it. Stephen Chen, the man without mercy. The youngest self-made billionaire in New York. The king who rules from a throne of ice." "I built something," Stephen said defensively. "I created value, jobs, opportunities. You built a monument to your pain." Lily leaned forward. "And you're so busy maintaining it, You forgot why you started building in the first place. The wine arrived. Stephen drank too quickly, needing something to do with his hands. You don't know me, he said. I know what Emma told me. I know what she wrote in her last letter. Lily pulled a folded piece of paper from her purse. Do you want to hear it?
No.
Too bad. She unfolded it carefully. Dear Lily, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Don't cry too much, little sister. We knew this was coming. But I need you to do something for me. Stephen is going to blame himself. He's going to think that if he'd been smarter, richer, more powerful, he could have saved me. He's going to turn that guilt into armor. Please, when you meet him, and you will meet him, I know you will, please remind him that love isn't about power. It's about being brave enough to stay soft in a hard world. Tell him I loved him exactly as he was. Not for what he could give me or protect me from, but for his heart. Make sure he didn't lose it. Love, Emma. Stephen's vision blurred. He blinked hard, refusing to let tears fall in public. She was wrong, he said, his voice rough. I couldn't save her. All my ambition, all my plans, all my promises. None of it mattered. She died anyway. Of course she did. She had cancer, Stephen. Not a lack of love. I should have done more. Found better doctors, experimental treatments, something. You did everything. Mom told me. You paid for everything. Researched every option. Sat with her through every treatment. Lily's voice softened. Emma didn't die because you failed her. She died because sometimes people die, and it's nobody's fault. Then why does it feel like it is? Because you loved her. And grief doesn't care about logic. The lasagna arrived, steaming and fragrant. Lily dug in immediately, but Stephen just stared at his plate. Eat, Lily commanded. Emma would be furious if she knew you were wasting Antonio's lasagna. Despite himself, Stephen smiled. A small thing barely there but real. He took a bite. It was delicious. They ate in silence for a few minutes. The restaurant buzzed with life around them. Families laughing, couples holding hands, friends arguing about soccer. Normal people living normal lives. Do you remember the first time you met Emma? Lily asked. Of course. University library. She was drawing in the architecture section, and I told her she was in the wrong place. She told me art belonged everywhere. Stephen found himself talking without meaning to, the memory spilling out. She was sketching the ceiling beams, said they had better lines than most sculptures. I thought she was crazy. She was a little crazy. She asked me to model for her, said I had an interesting face. I said no. She drew me anyway from memory, showed me the sketch the next day. I looked heroic, noble, nothing like I actually was. That's how she saw you. She saw wrong. Did she? Lily set down her fork. Stephen, I've spent the last week reading about you. Every article, every interview, every business deal. Do you know what I noticed? That I'm successful? That you're miserable. And you're making everyone around you miserable too. Lily pulled out her phone, scrolling quickly. 3 months ago, you fired 200 people right before the holidays. Last month, you shut down a factory in Ohio, putting an entire town out of work. 2 weeks ago, you destroyed James Morrison's career over a board vote. Stephen's jaw tightened. Business requires hard choices.
No.
Cruelty requires choosing to be cruel. Lily's eyes flashed. You didn't have to destroy Morrison. You could have outvoted him, removed him from the board, bought out his shares quietly. But you chose to humiliate him, to make him suffer. Why? He betrayed me. So what? People betray each other. It's called being human. You respond by ending their lives. I respond by protecting what's mine. From what? Emma's gone, Stephen. You can't protect her anymore. So who are you protecting? The question hung in the air like smoke. Stephen set down his fork, appetite gone. I don't know. I think you do. I think you're protecting that scared kid who watched the person he loved die and couldn't stop it. I think you've spent 10 years making sure you're never that powerless again. But here's the thing, you're not more powerful now. You're just more alone. I'm fine with being alone. Liar. Lily's voice was gentle now. I saw your face last night when you recognized me. You looked like a drowning man seeing shore. You're desperate for connection, but you've built walls so high nobody can reach you. Stephen wanted to argue, wanted to stand up and leave, wanted to prove her wrong with cold facts and colder logic. Instead, he said, "How do I fix it? I don't know if you can, but I think Emma believed you could. Otherwise, she wouldn't have asked me to find you. What do you want from me, Lily? I want you to be honest. With me, with yourself. Emma made me promise to check on you. Well, I'm checking. And what I see is a man who's forgotten how to be human." She reached across the table, her hand stopping just short of his. "Do you want to remember?" Stephen looked at her hand. Small, paint-stained fingers, she must still do art like Emma did. One touch and he'd be connected to another person for the first time in years. One touch and he'd risk everything. He pulled his hand back. Lily's expression flickered with disappointment, but she nodded. "Okay, but I'm not giving up on you, Stephen Chen. Emma asked me for one thing. I'm going to see it through." "Why? You don't know me. You have no obligation." "Because Emma loved you, and I loved Emma, and I trust her judgment more than I trust your reputation." Lily stood up. "I have to go. Early meeting tomorrow at the nonprofit. But we're doing this again." "I don't think that's a good idea." "I don't care what you think. Next week, same time. And Stephen," she pulled on her jacket, "next time, try telling me something true." She was gone before he could respond. Stephen sat alone in the booth, surrounded by the noise of other people's happiness. The waiter brought the check. He paid with a credit card that had no limit, tipped $500, and walked out into the cold night. His driver pulled up immediately. "Home, sir?" Stephen looked back at the restaurant. Through the window, he could see families still eating, still laughing, still living. "Yes," he said. "Home." But as the car pulled away, Stephen knew the truth. He didn't have a home. He had a penthouse. He had offices. He had properties across 3 continents. But home was something else. Home was Emma drawing by lamplight. Home was her laugh when he said something ridiculous. Home was the belief that tomorrow could be better than today. Home was what he'd lost 10 years ago. And Lily Rodriguez, with her paint-stained fingers and her sister's eyes, was offering him a chance to find it again. The question was whether he had the courage to try. The board meeting started at 8 sharp. 12 executives sat around the table, each one representing billions in assets. Stephen took his seat at the head, his expression carved from marble. "The Patterson acquisition," he began without preamble. "Status." Marcus Webb, his CFO, cleared his throat. "We've secured 60% of the shares. Patterson's fighting back hard. He's leveraging personal relationships, calling in favors. It's getting messy. I don't care about messy. I care about winning." "Sir, there's another issue." Marcus glanced at the others nervously. "Patterson's making noise about our labor practices. He's threatening to go to the press with allegations about the Ohio factory closure." Stephen's eyes narrowed. "Allegations? That we knew about the closure 6 months before we announced it. That we deliberately withheld information to suppress stock prices before the buyback. That's a lie. We both know it's not entirely a lie, sir." Marcus met his gaze steadily. He was the only one in the room brave enough to contradict Stephen directly. "We did know. We just didn't disclose." "Which is legal." "Legal and ethical aren't always the same thing." The room went silent. Everyone waited for Stephen's explosion, for Marcus to be eviscerated like so many others who dared to question him. But Stephen just stared out the window, Lily's voice echoing in his head. "You're making everyone around you miserable. What would you recommend?" Stephen asked quietly. Marcus blinked, clearly shocked.
"I'm sorry."
"You're my CFO. You understand the numbers better than anyone. If you were making this decision, what would you do?"
"ED."
"I'd negotiate with Patterson. Find a middle ground. Maybe offer him a board seat. Give him some control. Let him save face. That shows weakness. It shows wisdom, sir. Patterson's connected. If he goes to war, he could drag this out for years. Legal fees alone would cost us millions. And the PR damage. Marcus shook his head. Sometimes winning means knowing when to compromise. Stephen thought about Morrison's broken expression. Thought about the factory workers in Ohio who'd lost their jobs before Christmas. Thought about 200 employees he'd fired to make a quarterly projection. Thought about Emma's letter. Love isn't about power. Set up a meeting with Patterson, Stephen said. Tell him I want to talk. The room erupted in whispers. Sir, are you certain? Marcus looked like he'd witnessed a miracle. Patterson's been publicly attacking you for weeks. I'm certain. And Marcus? Look into rehiring some of the Ohio workers. Not all of them, we still need to be profitable. But see if there are positions in other facilities. People with families, single parents, anyone who'd struggle to relocate. Help them if we can. Now Marcus looked like he might faint. Of course, sir. Right away. Stephen stood. That's all. Sarah, clear my afternoon. I need to take care of something. He left the boardroom, ignoring the stunned faces behind him. His phone buzzed immediately. A text from Lily. Heard you're meeting with Patterson. Emma would be proud. Coffee later?
L.
Stephen stared at the message. How did she know about Patterson? The decision had been made 30 seconds ago. He typed back. How did you? Marcus Webb's wife volunteers at my nonprofit. Small world. So? Coffee? Despite everything, Stephen smiled. Yes, 3 p.m. You picked the place. Already sent you the address. Don't be late. The coffee shop was in Queens, a neighborhood Stephen hadn't visited in years. Not since university. Not since Emma. Lily was already there, sitting by the window with 2 cups in front of her. She waved when she saw him. You came, she said as he sat down. You doubted I would? After last time? A little. She pushed 1 cup toward him. Black coffee, no sugar. I remembered from dinner. The fact that she'd remembered such a small detail shouldn't have mattered. But it did. Thank you. So, Lily leaned back, studying him. Marcus's wife called me. Said you're meeting with Patterson. Said you're looking into rehiring the Ohio workers. What happened? I took your advice. My advice was to be honest, not to transform overnight. Maybe they're the same thing. Stephen wrapped his hands around the warm cup. You were right. About Morrison, about Ohio, about all of it. I've been cruel because I could be, not because I had to be. That's a big realization. It doesn't fix anything. Those people are still hurt. Morrison's career is still destroyed. I can't undo what I've done.
No.
But you can stop doing it. Lily reached across the table, and this time Stephen didn't pull away when she touched his hand. Her fingers were warm against his skin. Change doesn't happen all at once, Stephen. The small decisions made every day. You made a good one today. One good decision doesn't erase 10 years of bad ones.
No.
But it's a start. She squeezed his hand gently. Emma used to say that people aren't fixed things. We're always becoming. You became the Ice King. Now you can become something else. What if I don't know how? Then I'll help you. Lily smiled. That's what Emma asked me to do. They sat in comfortable silence, their hands still touching. Stephen couldn't remember the last time he'd held someone's hand. Even with Emma, toward the end, he'd been afraid to touch her. Afraid he'd somehow make things worse. Afraid his touch would remind her she was dying. But Lily's hand was solid and real and alive. Tell me about your nonprofit, Stephen said. It's called Second Chance. We help recently incarcerated people find jobs and housing. Most of them made mistakes when they were young, served their time. But nobody will hire them, nobody will rent to them. So they end up back in the system. That sounds difficult. It is. We're constantly underfunded, constantly fighting for every dollar. But when someone succeeds, when they get a job and keep it and build a life, Lily's face lit up. That's everything. You love it.
Ido.
Emma got me into this work, actually. Before she got sick, she volunteered with at-risk youth. She believed everyone deserved a second chance. That one mistake shouldn't define your whole life. Stephen thought about all the people he'd destroyed over one mistake. One betrayal. One wrong decision. I could help, he heard himself say. Chen Industries could partner with Second Chance. We have entry-level positions, training programs. We could hire your people. Lily's eyes went wide. Are you serious? I'm serious, but I have conditions. Her expression immediately became guarded. What conditions? You have to be involved. Personally, I want you to vet the candidates, oversee their training, report directly to me on their progress. Stephen held her gaze. I want to see this through your eyes. I want to understand why it matters. Why? Because you see people the way Emma did, as something more than their worst moment. I've forgotten how to do that. I need to remember. Lily's eyes shimmered with tears. Okay, yes. Thank you, Stephen. Don't thank me yet. I might still be terrible at this. Probably. She laughed through her tears. But at least you're trying. Stephen's phone buzzed, then buzzed again, and again. He pulled it out, frowning. 15 missed calls. 20 texts. All from Marcus. I have to take this, he said, already standing. Marcus never calls unless. Go. It's fine. Stephen stepped outside, dialing Marcus back. His CFO answered on the first ring. Sir, we have a problem. A big problem. What is it? Patterson. He's not interested in negotiating. He's going nuclear. He just filed a massive lawsuit against Chen Industries. He's alleging fraud, market manipulation, insider trading, everything he can think of. And he's leaked documents to the press. Stephen's blood ran cold. What documents? The Ohio factory correspondence. The Morrison files. Internal memos about the layoffs. Sir, this is bad. This could trigger a federal investigation. The SEC, the DOJ, they're all going to be looking at us now. How did he get those documents? We don't know. But someone inside the company had to give them to him. We have a leak, sir. Maybe more than one. Stephen closed his eyes. This was it. This was the war he'd been building toward for 10 years. Every enemy he'd made, every bridge he'd burned, every person he'd crushed. They were all coming for him now, and he'd given them the ammunition. Call the legal team, Stephen said, his voice steady despite the panic rising in his chest. Call everyone. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Sir, there's more. What? Patterson's targeting your personal assets too. He's got lawyers digging into everything. Your properties, your investments, your... Sir, he found out about Emma. Stephen's hand tightened on the phone. What about Emma? The medical bills you paid. He's claiming you used company funds for personal expenses. That you embezzled money from Chen Industries to pay for her treatment. It's a lie, we both know it's a lie, but he's spinning it. He's going to make you look like a criminal and a fraud. He's using Emma. Stephen's voice was deadly quiet. He's using her memory to destroy me. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. Be ready. Patterson wants a war? He's got one. Stephen hung up and turned around. Lily was standing in the doorway of the coffee shop, her face pale. I heard, she said. Stephen, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. What are you going to do? Stephen looked at her, at Emma's sister, at the woman who'd reminded him what it meant to be human. And he made a choice. I'm going to fight back. But not the way I used to. He stepped closer. Patterson's using Emma to hurt me. He's lying about her, about us, about everything we were. I won't let him do that. How will you stop him? By telling the truth. All of it. Emma's illness, the money I spent, the grief that drove me. I'm going to put it all out there. No hiding, no spin, no legal tricks. Stephen took Lily's hand. But I need your help. I need you to tell Emma's story. Our story. The real one. Stephen, that's so personal. Are you sure you want? I'm sure. Emma asked you to make sure I didn't lose my heart. Well, I lost it. But maybe if I tell people what it was like to lose her, if I show them who she was and what she meant, maybe I can find it again. Lily squeezed his hand. Then I'll help you. We'll do this together. Together. Stephen repeated. The word felt foreign on his tongue. He'd been alone for so long, but maybe he didn't have to be anymore. The next 72 hours were a blur of lawyers, strategy meetings, and damage control. Patterson's lawsuit dominated the news cycle. Business channels played clips of Stephen's most ruthless moments on repeat. Social media exploded with hashtags calling him a fraud, a monster, a heartless corporate raider. Chen Industries stock plummeted 15% in 2 days. Stephen sat in his office at midnight on the third day, surrounded by legal briefs and financial reports. His lawyers wanted to fight back hard, bury Patterson in countersuits, destroy his credibility before he could destroy theirs. "We can win this," his lead attorney insisted. "Patterson's case is circumstantial at best. But we need to move fast, discredit him before." "No," Stephen said. The room fell silent. "Sir, I don't think you understand the severity." "I understand perfectly. Patterson wants to paint me as a villain who used company money to pay for personal expenses. He wants to turn my love for Emma into evidence of fraud." Stephen stood, walking to the window. "He's not entirely wrong about who I became after she died. But he's wrong about her, about us, and I won't let him twist that." "Then what do you want to do?" "I want to hold a press conference. Tomorrow. I'm going to tell the truth about Emma, about the money, about everything. No lawyers, no PR spin. Just me. Mr. Chen, that's corporate suicide. Anything you say can be used. I know the risks. Do it anyway." His legal team left, shaking their heads. Sarah stayed behind, her expression worried. "Sir, are you certain about this?"
No.
"But Lily is, and I trust her judgment more than I trust my own right now." Stephen turned to face his assistant. "Sarah, you've worked for me for 6 years. You've seen everything. The deals, the decisions, the people I've destroyed. Do you think I can actually pull this off? Do you think people will believe me?" Sarah was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "Sir, I think the question isn't whether they'll believe you. It's whether you believe yourself." Stephen nodded slowly. "Fair point. For what it's worth," Sarah added, "I've seen the change in you these past few weeks, since Lily came back. You're different. Not completely, but enough that I think Emma would recognize you again." After Sarah left, Stephen sat alone in his office, Emma's face filling his mind. He remembered the last conversation they'd had before she died. Her hand weak in his, her voice barely a whisper. "Promise me you won't let the grief win, Stephen. Promise me you'll stay you." He'd promised, and he'd broken that promise spectacularly. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "Whatever happens tomorrow, Emma would be proud that you're trying. I'm proud too. Get some sleep." Stephen smiled despite himself. Lily had her sister's gift for knowing exactly what to say. The press conference room was packed wall to wall. Every major news outlet had sent their top business reporters. Patterson sat in the front row, arms crossed, a satisfied smirk on his face. He thought he'd already won. Stephen walked to the podium at exactly 2 p.m. No notes.
No teleprompter.
Just him and the truth. "Thank you all for coming. I'm Stephen Chen, CEO of Chen Industries, and I'm here to address the allegations made by Richard Patterson and to tell you a story about the woman I loved and the man I became when I lost her." He paused, meeting Patterson's eyes directly. "Mr. Patterson's lawsuit claims I misused company funds for personal gain. He's partially correct. 3 years ago, when my partner Emma Rodriguez was dying of cancer, I did use company resources. I used our jets to fly her to specialists. I diverted research funding to experimental treatments. I pulled every string, spent every dollar, called in every favor I had." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. But here's what Mr. Patterson conveniently left out of his lawsuit. Every expense was documented, approved by the board, and repaid in full from my personal accounts. My legal team has provided all financial records to the SEC. There was no fraud, no embezzlement, just a desperate man trying to save the woman he loved. "However," Stephen continued, his voice hardening, "Mr. Patterson is absolutely right about one thing. I did change after Emma died. I became exactly the kind of man she feared I would become. Cold, ruthless, obsessed with power and profit at the expense of everything else. I fired people without cause, destroyed competitors without mercy, and treated human beings like line items on a spreadsheet. He gripped the podium. Emma knew me better than I knew myself. She knew that grief would try to turn me into someone unrecognizable. So before she died, she wrote a letter to her sister Lily, asking her to help me find my way back, to remind me who I was before the anger and pain took over. Stephen looked toward the back of the room where Lily stood, tears streaming down her face. But 6 weeks ago, something changed. Lily and I met by accident at an event. She asked me one simple question after seeing the man I have become. Is this really what Emma would have wanted? And for the first time since Emma died, I actually stopped and thought about the answer. The room was completely silent. The answer was no. Emma wouldn't have wanted me to build an empire on the backs of broken people. She wouldn't have wanted me to measure success by how many competitors I crushed or how much wealth I accumulated. She wanted me to be kind, to be fair, to remember that business is built by people, not just profit margins. Stephen stepped away from the podium, his voice steady but raw. So here's what I'm going to do. Effective immediately, I'm implementing major changes at Chen Industries. First, we're establishing an independent ethics board with real power to review all major business decisions. Second, we're creating a fund to compensate employees who were unfairly terminated over the past 3 years. Third, we're committing 20% of annual profits to initiatives that support workers' rights, mental health resources, and community development. Patterson's smirk had vanished. I'm also stepping down as CEO in 6 months to transition to an advisory role. I need time to figure out who Stephen Chen is supposed to be when he's not hiding behind corporate power. I need time to honor Emma's memory the right way, not by building monuments to my own pain, but by actually living the values she believed in. As for Mr. Patterson's lawsuit, I won't be fighting it in court. Instead, I'm inviting a full independent audit of Chen Industries' finances and practices over the past 5 years. Every document, every decision, every dollar will be examined. If wrongdoing is found, I'll accept full responsibility. Stephen looked directly at Patterson. But I want to be clear about something. This isn't a surrender. This is accountability. Emma taught me that real strength isn't about never making mistakes. It's about having the courage to admit when you're wrong and the integrity to make it right. He turned back to the cameras. I can't undo the damage I've caused. I can't bring back the careers I destroyed or the families I hurt. But I can stop making excuses. I can stop hiding behind lawyers and power plays. And I can start trying to be the man Emma believed I was capable of being. To everyone I've wronged, I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough, but it's where I have to start. To Lily, thank you for not giving up on me even when I gave you every reason to. And to Emma, wherever you are, I'm trying. I'm finally trying. Stephen walked off the stage to chaos. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Patterson looked like he'd been hit by a truck. But Stephen only had eyes for one person. Lily met him at the side door, and when he reached her, she threw her arms around him. She would be so proud of you, Lily whispered. I'm so proud of you. Stephen held Emma's sister tight, and for the first time in 3 years, he felt like he could breathe. The fallout was swift and brutal. Chen Industries stock plummeted 20% in 48 hours. 2 major clients terminated their contracts. 3 board members resigned. Business analysts called it corporate suicide. Patterson went on every news show that would have him, calling Stephen's confession a desperate ploy. But something unexpected started happening. Current and former employees began sharing their stories on social media. Stories about the small changes they'd noticed over the past 6 weeks. The personal check-in Stephen had started doing. The policy reversals. The moment he'd actually listened when someone said, "This isn't right." A video went viral of a former employee Stephen had fired explaining how he'd personally called to apologize and offer a settlement. Then another. Then dozens more. Major news outlets started running pieces about corporate responsibility and whether redemption was possible for powerful executives. Some praised Stephen's honesty. Others called it manipulation. But everyone was talking. And Lily's nonprofit started getting unprecedented attention and donations. People wanted to support the woman who dedicated herself to helping her sister's partner find his humanity again. 2 weeks after the press conference, Stephen sat in a coffee shop in Brooklyn with Lily. Not his usual downtown power lunch spots. Just a neighborhood cafe where nobody recognized him. Patterson dropped the lawsuit, Lily said, showing him her phone. His lawyers released a statement saying, in light of Mr. Chen's cooperation and the independent audit findings, we see no reason to proceed. Stephen stared at the screen. The audit cleared us? Completely. Turns out you actually were telling the truth about the finances. Who knew? Lily smiled. Patterson realized he couldn't win against someone who'd already admitted their real failures. So what now? Now you figure out what comes next. For you, for the company, for your life. Lily reached across the table and took his hand. Emma's letter to me didn't just ask me to help you become better. It asked me to help you become happy again. That's the part we still need to work on. Stephen felt his throat tighten. I don't know if I deserve to be happy. That's grief talking, not truth. Emma didn't sacrifice everything fighting cancer so you could spend the rest of your life punishing yourself. She wanted you to live, Stephen. Really live. I don't remember how. Then we'll figure it out together. That's what family does. Stephen looked at this remarkable woman who'd given up so much to honor her sister's dying wish. Emma had been extraordinary, but Lily was pretty extraordinary too. Thank you, he said quietly, for not giving up on me. Emma never gave up on you. I was just following her lead. Lily squeezed his hand. Besides, you're worth saving, Stephen Chen. You always were. You just forgot for a while. 6 months later, Stephen stood in front of the Chen Industries board for his final meeting as CEO. His successor, Dr. Jennifer Martinez, sat beside him. She was a brilliant businesswoman with a track record of building ethical, sustainable companies. Everything Stephen should have been. The transition is complete, Stephen announced. Dr. Martinez has my full confidence and support. Under her leadership, Chen Industries will continue to grow, but with integrity at its core. One of the board members spoke up. Mr. Chen, the company's stock has recovered. Employee satisfaction is at an all-time high. Several of our competitors are now adopting similar ethical frameworks. You could stay on as CEO. The board would support you. Stephen shook his head. That's incredibly generous, but no. I need this next chapter to be about something different. Dr. Martinez is the leader this company needs. After the meeting, Stephen cleaned out his office. Sarah helped him pack, tears in her eyes. This feels like the end of an era, she said. It is, but that's not a bad thing. Stephen looked around at the office that had been his second home for nearly a decade. I built something here, something good eventually, but it's time to build something else. What will you do? Lily and I are starting a foundation, the Emma Rodriguez Foundation for Ethical Business and Community Development. We're going to help small businesses integrate ethical practices from the ground up. And I'm going to teach. Columbia offered me a position teaching business ethics. Sarah laughed. You? Teaching ethics? I know. The irony isn't lost on me. But maybe that's the point. Who better to teach people about ethical failures than someone who lived through them? Stephen smiled. Emma always said our mistakes could teach more than our successes. Time to test that theory. As Stephen walked out of Chen Industries headquarters for the last time as CEO, he felt lighter than he had in years. The corporate armor he'd worn for so long was finally gone. Lily was waiting outside, leaning against a car. Ready for your first day of freedom? She asked. Ready for my first day of something new. Stephen climbed into the passenger seat. Where are we going? Somewhere Emma loved. She made me promise that when you finally found yourself again, I'd take you there. They drove through the city, eventually pulling up to a small community garden in Queens. It was beautiful, full of flowers and vegetables tended by local families. Emma volunteered here every weekend, Lily explained as they walked through the paths. She said it reminded her that growth takes time, patience, and care, that you can't force things to bloom faster than they're meant to. Stephen knelt beside a patch of roses, their fragrance overwhelming. She tried to get me to come with her. I always said I was too busy. She knew you'd find your way here eventually. She left something for you. Lily handed him an envelope, weathered and worn. I was supposed to give you this when I thought you were ready. I think today's the day. Stephen's hands shook as he opened the letter. Emma's handwriting filled the page. My dearest Stephen, if you're reading this, it means Lily succeeded. I knew she would. She's stubborn, just like you. I need you to understand something. When I got sick, I wasn't afraid of dying. I was afraid of what it would do to you. I was afraid you'd bury yourself in work and anger and forget how to be the man I fell in love with. That man was kind. He was ambitious, yes, but he saw people as people, not obstacles or resources. He dreamed big, but never at the expense of his integrity. He made me laugh until my sides hurt and cried during sappy movies, even though he pretended he didn't. Grief is going to try to take that man away. It's going to tell you that the only way to survive is to become hard, to build walls so high that pain can't reach you. And maybe you'll listen for a while. Maybe you'll need to. But eventually, I need you to remember something. Strength isn't about not feeling pain. It's about feeling it and choosing to love anyway. It's about being broken and still showing up. It's about falling and deciding to get back up, even when it's easier to stay down. Lily is going to help you remember. She's going to show you the path back to yourself. All you have to do is trust her. Trust that the man I loved is still in there, waiting to come home. I need you to promise me something, Stephen. Promise me you'll let yourself be happy again. Not right away, grief needs time, but eventually. Promise me you'll build something beautiful with your life, not as a monument to me, but as an expression of who you are. Promise me you'll remember that making money isn't the same as making a difference. That power without compassion is just cruelty. That success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. And most importantly, promise me you'll forgive yourself. For working too much. For not being there enough. For being human and imperfect and flawed. I forgave you for all of that long ago. Now you need to forgive yourself. I love you, Stephen Chen. I loved you on our best days and our worst days. I loved you when you were strong and when you were vulnerable. I loved you not despite your flaws, but including them, because they made you real. Now go live. Not for me. Not to honor my memory. But because you deserve to experience joy and love and purpose. Because the world needs the man you're capable of being. And when you're ready, when you've found yourself again, I need you to do one more thing. Teach others. Show them that redemption is possible. That people can change. That it's never too late to become who you were meant to be. I believe in you. I always have. I always will. Forever yours, Emma. Stephen sat among the roses, tears flowing freely, as years of grief and regret finally found release. Lily sat beside him, her hand on his shoulder, giving him the space to break and the support to begin healing. When he could finally speak, his voice was hoarse. She really believed I could do this. She knew you could, Lily corrected gently. There's a difference. She didn't hope or wish. She knew, because she saw something in you that you couldn't see in yourself. Stephen folded the letter carefully and placed it over his heart. I spent 3 years building walls to keep the pain out. All I did was lock myself in. But you're out now. That's what matters. They sat in the garden as the sun set over Queens, surrounded by the life Emma had loved to nurture. And for the first time since her death, Stephen felt connected to something larger than his grief, his guilt, his fear. He felt connected to hope. 1 year later, the Emma Rodriguez Foundation's annual gala was held in a renovated warehouse in Brooklyn, not a fancy Manhattan ballroom. The guest list included nonprofit leaders, small business owners, community organizers, and former Chen Industries employees, the people Emma had always cared about most. Stephen stood at the microphone, no longer the ruthless CEO, but something simpler and more authentic. Thank you all for being here tonight. A year ago, I stood in front of cameras and admitted I'd become someone I wasn't proud of, someone my partner Emma wouldn't have recognized. Tonight, I want to tell you what's happened since. He gestured to the room around them. The Emma Rodriguez Foundation has helped over 200 small businesses implement ethical practices. We've provided mental health resources to 3,000 employees across a dozen companies. We've created a network of business leaders committed to measuring success by impact, not just profit. But more importantly, we've proven something Emma always believed, that doing good and doing well aren't mutually exclusive, that you can build successful businesses without sacrificing your humanity. That redemption isn't just a nice idea, it's a practical reality. Stephen smiled. I've also learned something personal this year. I've learned that happiness isn't something you achieve or earn. It's something you allow. For 3 years, I didn't allow myself to be happy because I thought I didn't deserve it. Emma's letter taught me that grief and joy aren't opposites. They're companions. You can honor someone's memory while still choosing to live fully. He looked at Lily, who stood near the stage beaming with pride. Emma's sister Lily once told me that I was worth saving. I didn't believe her, but she believed it enough for both of us, and she fought for me even when I'd given up on myself. That's the power of love, of family, of refusing to let someone you care about disappear into their worst self. Tonight, we're celebrating the businesses and individuals who've embraced ethical practices this year. But really, we're celebrating something bigger. The idea that change is possible, that people can grow, that it's never too late to become who you were meant to be. Stephen raised his glass. To Emma, who saw the best in everyone, especially when they couldn't see it themselves. To Lily, who honored her sister's faith by refusing to give up. And to everyone here who's choosing to build something better. Thank you. The room erupted in applause. Later, as the gala wound down, Stephen found himself standing alone on the balcony, looking out over the Brooklyn skyline. Lily joined him, 2 glasses of wine in hand. Emma would have loved this, she said, handing him a glass. She would have organized it better, Stephen replied with a smile. Probably. She was always the organized one. Lily clinked her glass against his. How are you doing? Really? Stephen considered the question. A year ago, he would have deflected or lied. Now, he had the courage to be honest. I'm good. Not perfect. I still have hard days. I still miss her so much it physically hurts sometimes. But I'm good. That's all Emma wanted. For you to be okay. To be you. I know. It just took me a long time to figure out who that was. Stephen looked at his former sister-in-law, this remarkable woman who'd saved him from himself. Thank you, Lily, for everything, for coming back from England, for not giving up, for loving me enough to tell me the truth even when I didn't want to hear it. Lily's eyes glistened. You were Emma's greatest love. Helping you was the last thing I could do for her. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about honoring Emma's wish and started being about caring for you. Your family, Stephen. You always will be. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city lights twinkle in the darkness. Inside, people laughed and celebrated, building connections and sharing stories of positive change. You know what's funny? Stephen said. I spent a decade trying to build something that would last, trying to create a legacy. But the thing I'm most proud of isn't Chen Industries or my net worth or any business deal I ever made. What is it? It's this. Tonight, this foundation. Teaching students who actually want to learn about ethics, not just profit. Helping businesses figure out how to do right by their employees. Making amends with the people I hurt. Being someone Emma would recognize again. He smiled. Turns out the legacy worth building wasn't corporate at all. Emma knew that all along. Emma knew a lot of things I had to learn the hard way. Stephen turned to face Lily fully. I'm thinking about writing a book. About everything that happened. The mistakes I made, the lessons I learned, what it really takes to change. Would that be okay? Using Emma's story. Lily nodded. She'd want you to. If sharing your story helps even one person avoid making the same mistakes, she'd say it was worth it. Then I'll do it. Not as Stephen Chen, ruthless CEO, but as Stephen Chen, work in progress. He laughed softly. Definitely a more honest title. As the night wore on and guests began to leave, Stephen found himself thinking about Emma's letter. The promises he'd made. The man he'd become. He wasn't perfect. He still had days where the old instincts kicked in, where his first response was self-protection rather than compassion. But now he caught himself. He paused. He chose differently. That was growth. That was redemption. Not a single dramatic transformation, but 1,000 small decisions to be better than he was yesterday. On his way out, Stephen stopped by a photo of Emma that hung in the foundation's entrance. She was laughing in the picture, her joy infectious and real. "I kept my promise," he whispered. "I found my way back. Took longer than it should have, and I hurt people along the way. But I made it. I hope wherever you are, you can see that. I hope you're proud." In his mind, he heard her voice, warm and certain. "I always was, Stephen. I always will be." Stephen Chen walked out into the Brooklyn night, no longer running from his grief but carrying it with him as part of his story. The pain would always be there. Love that deep leaves permanent marks. But so would the joy of having known Emma. The growth she'd inspired. The life she'd believed he could live. He wasn't the ruthless CEO anymore. He wasn't that broken man either. He was simply Stephen. Flawed, healing, trying, and finally genuinely at peace. And that was enough. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, leave your comment below, and subscribe to Urban Folks TV for more intriguing stories. See you next time.